Alrighty, folks, here we go. Watching Jesse 2024 U.S. Senior Championships, Round 8. Today, Jesse is black again against Grandmaster Alex Shabalov. Shaba, very big, long-time opponent, I'm sure, for Jesse. Really experienced player. Echo? Is there an echo? What's going on? There's an echo. Why is there an echo? Let me know if anyone else... Yeah, here's the echo. Okay, maybe it's alright. Thank you. Yeah, he's playing black again. The way the colors work out, of course, half the players in the tournament get 5 whites, half the tournaments get 5 blacks. And Jesse's one of the players that got 5 blacks. So at some point you either alternate, like black, white, but that's only one player that gets that kind of color pairing. At some point it's pretty typical to get 2 blacks in a row when you have 5. Or 2 whites in a row for the players that have an extra white. And we're off. D4, knight f6, c4. Yeah, so Shaba can basically play everything. He's often an e4 player, but he can go d4, c4. I'm sure he's played knight f3 as well. Here he goes for d4, c4. My guess is he wants some kind of Nimzo, because Jesse's been pretty consistent with the French and the Nimzo, but okay, we see G3. So G3 is not Nimzo. G3 is more anti-Nimzo. G3 is essentially the Catalan. So we're gonna see a Catalan in this game. And D5, Jesse is ready. And actually, this is an interesting, very interesting opening choice from Shaba, because many players in this position. Let's do a quick opening lesson. So knight c3 is kind of white's most logical and natural move, trying to play e4. And then black can either transpose back into the Queen's Gambit decline with d5, or they can play the Nimzo Indian, named after the late, great Aaron Nimzovich, who kind of championed this system, which has long stood fine for black in terms of theoretical point of view, practical point of view. Huge battleground here. Kaidanov played this last round against Jesse and tried queen c2 here, which is a long time move. Yeah, basically big opening. In general, black stands well here. So when white wants to avoid the Nimzo Indian, they typically start with knight f3. Knight f3 would be the second most logical move. And here Jesse has been known to play b6, the Queen's Indian, for quite some time. I don't know if that was his plan for today, but that's a big part of his repertoire. And if black were to go d5 here, then after g3 we can get the Catalan. White could have also played knight c3, of course, and we get different lines. But anyways, Shaba starts with g3. And the point of this move order is that you cut out black from being able to play the Queen's Indian. I know there's more moves, but we'll catch up very soon, guys. The point here is that after bishop to g2, of course, black can't put the bishop on b7. Black has to do something awkward, either like knight c6 or d5. If you play d5, well, then you're back in the Catalan. It's not exactly a Queen's Indian. Typical Queen's Indian would be like knight f3, bishop b7, bishop g2. Black doesn't really play d5 until maybe later. You can go bishop b4 check here, bishop to e7. There's bishop a6 lines as well. This would be kind of the normal Queen's Indian. But with g3, b6, bishop g2, you wouldn't really be able to get any of these typical lines. And again, you have to basically transpose into a Catalan in order to play this. So g3 is kind of forcing a Catalan. And most players here will either go d5 or bishop b4 check, or c5. c5 is also a move. It's considered to be a good Benoni, or a good version of the Benoni, because white is already committed to playing g3 here. And I'm sure Jesse has played this one as well. And perhaps Shaba was maybe even expecting this, where, yeah, black can also play like this, where you get definitely a better Benoni than you would if you play like a classic Benoni move order. Okay, so going back to the game. And g3 So d5, bishop g2, bishop b4 check. It's one of the main ways of playing the Catalan as black. Knight d2, castles, knight gf3, b6, castles, bishop b7, knight e5, and now bishop e7. Okay. So yeah, normal so far. Actually, in this turn, not in this tournament, but in the U.S. Girls Junior, in round 1, Alice Lee played this as white against Iris Mu, and her opponent took on c4, which is very possible in this position because white's knight is pinned. And the idea would be after castles, black would be in time to support the pawn with b5. This would be very, very sharp and a possible way of playing this, but Jesse's played very quickly here. b6, bishop b7, knight e5, and bishop back to e7. So he very much knows what he's doing here and maybe even prepared this. I don't know if he prepared it for this game exactly. I don't know how much Shaba plays Catalan these days. Maybe he prepared it for someone else, like for Kaidanov, for example, the game before. And so, yeah, he seems to be pretty ready to face this line. Because it should be said, bishop b4 check. The main move you would focus on here is bishop d2. This is the main line, where black often drops the bishop back to e7 and then argues that the bishop on d2 is not well placed. It's going to have to eventually go to c3 and b2 or f4 anyway. But knight d2 is definitely considered the more aggressive approach. And yeah, it's long been thought that the drawback to this one is that black can take on c4. And of course, okay, sharp position, but still, that would be kind of like the critical approach. So the way Jesse's played it, I'm sure, is some new age, some newfangled, highfalutin theory. You know, Jesse likes to talk a lot of smack about the openings and the theory, but then he gets a serious tournament, and all of a sudden he's looking up the most theoretical lines, you know, preparing super deep. So we see what's important, Jesse, when, you know, you're playing a tournament that actually matters, right? Suddenly the openings are super important all of a sudden. Oh, Fabi played this against Anish. Wow, so Jesse following the top guys, all of a sudden following the top guys, following the theory, all of a sudden so useful. Hello, Patrick. Doing well. How are you? Yeah, I'm actually curious about the theory here. So let me take a look. We don't use any engines on stream, but we do allow ourselves to check the database because that's kind of interesting. You might get a sense of what the players might have been looking at before the game in terms of which games they've studied themselves. So let's see how well known this is. So bishop g2, bishop b4 check, knight d2, castles, knight gf3, and okay, looks like b6 is the main move after knight gf3. dc4 is the second move, but looks like b6 has taken over as the main line, including this aforementioned Giri Caruana game. From Bucharest, Superbet Chess Classic, July 5th, 2024. Very recent. Okay. So let's just take a quick look at that game, just because give us a sense of how things might play out, because actually it's a very interesting game. High-level game that they're following right now. So, instead of knight e5, it looks like Giri played b3, move 8, knight bd7, bishop b2. So this is the Giri Caruana game. Didn't Fabi end up winning the Bucharest? Or, there is a big playoff, right? That's why I must have missed the last round. So there's a big playoff after this game, because I thought he was leading, but I guess Anish beat him and then forced the playoff. Okay. So queen e7, a3, bishop d6, knight h4, g6. And here Giri plays b4. So they get a pretty sharp position. And c5. Wow. bc takes here. I think he took with the pawn. And then takes knight b3, and somehow Giri won this one. I like white's position in general, playing against isolated queen pawn. I think this is a very nice version. You got the bishop on the diagonal, good control over the d4 square. Knight f3. And Yeah. Eventually, Geary won somehow. I don't know if it was really a result of the opening. It looks like, okay, he managed to win a pawn, and then maybe Fabio was holding, but yeah, at a certain point, he loses the second pawn. Okay, so that was that game. So that was with like early b3, no knight e5. But that allowed black to play knight d7. So again, this is still the Geary game, so high-level game. So b3, knight bd7, and then white's knight never made it to e5, presumably because, number one, there was a3, bishop d6. Okay, here knight e5 could have been played, for example, in that game, because you don't want to take. But I'm guessing c5, black challenges the center, and white is not exactly ready to support this one. Maybe it's playable. I mean, it looks playable, for sure. But here Shaba goes for early knight e5. So deviating from the Geary game. But let's see if there's still theory here. Yeah, knight e5 is the main move. Yeah, b3 is also one of the moves, but knight e5 is in fact the most popular move in the position. So Shaba following the main line, knight bd7. And we have more moves in the game. Oh, sorry, bishop e7, b3, knight d7, bishop b2. Okay. Let's put that on the board. So, knight e5, bishop e7, knight bd7 is the main move. Bishop e7 is also possible, b3, knight d7 probably transposes, bishop b2. And yeah, they're still very much in theory. Looks like a lot of games here. We have Goryachkina against Artemiev from the Moscow Propaganda Stars Blitz. We got the Motlikov Nakamura from Title Tuesday. Dubov Martinez Alcantara, Yaspam, Title Tuesday. Tersahakian against Lazavic, Title Tuesday. Nestorov Bocharov, Khanty-Mansisk Governor Cup. Okay, sounds like another propaganda event. Okay, so basically all the games are either from Title Tuesday or from Russian state-sponsored chess events. So I don't know which of these games we're allowed to look at. But okay, seems like the main move for black by far is c5, with a couple players like Artemiev and Yaspam playing c6, albeit in blitz. Okay. So let me go back. Sorry, guys. I'm just on my laptop, so I don't have multiple screens here. But so c5 seems to be the main move here by far. Jesse thinking a little bit already in this position. Normally, he's not one to think too much if he's still in book. Can you play rook c8 to get Shaba out of book? I mean, you could. The thing is, you know, you always have to balance playing moves that your opponent hasn't looked at versus playing moves that are just straight up bad. You know, rook c8 seems fine to me. It's always like you have to be careful. Because like if c5 is the most natural move to you and it looks like you should play it, then you should just play it. Like, I don't think there's a big problem. c6 I think is reasonable as well. A lot of times black kind of plays rook c8 and then prepares c5 later on. But if there's no huge drawback to playing c5, I think black should just go ahead and play it anyway. And it's not like rook c8 is really going to get white out of book. Like, he knows the position. Typically white's rook goes to c1, white can play e3 here, queen e2. White has a lot of moves, and I doubt he has anything special after c5. You know, if the computer found something in this kind of position, black wouldn't really be going for it in today's modern day and age. So I would say, like, you should just kind of stick to your principles. If c5 looks like the move to you that you should play, I think you should just go ahead and play it. Yeah, I would say this is not the position where you really want to make some random move just to get the opponent out of book. You want to be kind of careful with that. c6, I mean, it is a move. I don't quite get like why you would play it here necessarily. Like one of the ideas behind c6 is that on cd5 you would take with the c pawn, and then you get rid of your weakness on the c file, and you can play rook to c8. This position to me feels nice for white in general because we put the knight on d7 already. In this structure, the knight would much rather be on c6, where it's kind of blocking the c file, whereas from d7 it's kind of in the way, not really going anywhere. So personally, I don't understand c6 that much here, but I'm also not like an expert on these kinds of positions. I've mainly seen them from white's point of view, so I'm like a d4 player. I've played Catalan, you know, against the Queen's Indian, so I'm really more comfortable from white side of things. Like putting pressure, like here, this position for me makes total sense as white. Like I think cd5 would be the move. Try to get black to take with the pawn. You go e3, knight f3. Black takes this one, then you try to take with a piece to hold on to the Isolani. Knight comes to f3, you cover the d4. Like to me, it's just like the position flows. From black's point of view, the ideas, you know, are known, but they're less natural for me. Yeah, question on knight takes e5. It's always possible, but you definitely have to be careful. So de5, let's say knight d7. One of the problems here would be, yeah, for example, let's say white just like takes and takes again. This structure I would be kind of worried about as black. I'm not totally sure. And as white, I'd be happy because maybe you get e4 in, you get this like big center. I don't know how much this is for white, but this would be the thing I would worry about. And then if we look at something like this, yeah, white's bishop is bad, but somehow I feel like white's central mass is kind of strong. But tricky position to judge. Maybe e4 is not even correct. Maybe white should play e3 actually, and then try to build up on the d pawn. These positions are very interesting though because you can get all kinds of different structures, and so both players have to be ready. And Shaba does take quickly on d5. Yeah, this is kind of a typical reaction because black is just threatening to kind of like collapse the center. Okay, we're not threatening dc yet because the bishop is hanging, so cd5 certainly didn't need to be played, but it makes sense for white to try and like clarify things. And now it's a question for black because you could take with the bishop here. Taking with the pawn is like the most logical, but taking the bishop to try and trade the bishops off does not seem insane to me. The point being, like, if white plays e4, like, you drop the bishop back, and white's center is under heavy pressure already, so it's not like they're going to be able to hold on to their two pawns. And so something like this, actually, I think black would be fine. Take, for example, all of black's pieces are getting into the game. d5, it would be like the most critical move, but I don't see exactly how it works after we just take twice. It feels like black can get away with this one. I don't know, takes, queen takes, bishop f6, yeah, just recap, yeah, totally fine. So bishop d5, I don't see the issue with this. Oh, maybe knight c6. Actually, knight c6 is a problem. Hitting the queen and winning the bishop pair. So we'd have to take, bishop takes c6. Who knows, maybe black is fine here as well, but okay, you do lose the light square bishop. That might be kind of a problem. And so yeah, just he does go e takes d5. I would guess knight c6 was the only drawback there, so he does take with the pawn. In this position, you know, I have always liked white here. You know, I've played d4 for many years. I've been playing like the e3 poison setups where you can often get this kind of structure. To me, it's pleasant for white, mainly because of like the pawn tension in the center. The issue here is that black rarely wants to take on d4. For example, like after knight f3, you take on d4, white can take back with the piece. You're left with this weak pawn on d5. But from white's point of view, there are many cases where you're happy to take on c5 and then leave black with these hanging pawns that you can put pressure on. Like takes, and there's like knight c4 ideas and this kind of thing, and knight back to e3. So in general, I just feel like white is a tiny bit better. Objectively, I think it's very close to equal. And actually, Karyakin was a big specialist in defending these positions on the black side. He played a lot of Queen's Indians. I think Naka as well actually was very good at these positions. He played them, I think, in one candidates like a bunch of times and held a bunch of positions, if I remember correctly. Maybe it was Karyakin actually that was holding them. Yeah, so objectively they're fine for black, but I would be a little worried, especially because, yeah, I kind of like this from white's point of view. And rook c1, very natural move. Okay, there's questions about... I've been following the chat, guys, don't worry. There were questions about my opening repertoire, questions about the game last night. Yeah, I mean, huge blunder from Kaidanov. Honestly, I was shocked to see it. And it was unfortunate, yeah, they missed it on the broadcast. I think that they had to call an early day. And also there was like so many dramatic games going on. So Jesse's game wasn't exactly super important to the standings. But yeah, Kaidanov just blundered the main and won. And... it's not crazy to me that he blundered. He had 2 minutes on his clock, but of course, maiden one is always shocking. It's just like it wasn't a very subtle maiden one, and it was also one of those things where he just kind of like forgot. He like undefended the square. If you guys saw the game, I can pull up the game very, very quickly. For anyone that didn't see it, this was just the final moment, and he kind of did it to himself. We have this position which. Okay, I was watching without an engine, looked very, very unclear. White has an extra piece, black has multiple pawns. I probably like black's chances just optically because these pawns seem very far advanced, and it feels like you have like chances like e3, 2 and all this stuff. But anyways, so he goes bishop b. He has 2 pieces covering the g2 square, and he goes bishop to b5, looking for the attack. Jesse defends that one, gives a check, king e6. And then knight c2, he just forgets that the knight is now needed. Just total, I don't know what to call it. Total blackout. Basically, you just kind of just forget something that's right in front of your eyes. And okay, he's looking for like knight d4 and stuff, and queen g2. Yeah, I mean, you can call it a senior moment. I don't know. I mean, I've made blunders like this too. I think we all have. So. I'm sure he did this kind of thing less when he was younger. I'm sure most do. So I wouldn't just blame it on the age thing, because yeah, I mean, in my last tournament in the final round, I blundered like a piece and one. It was just like a horrible blunder, just left a piece loose and just hung a check, and unfortunately I can't say it was a senior moment. It's just like a chess moment. So these things happen. They're very rare. Like in this tournament, I think this was maybe the worst blunder of the tournaments that I've seen. But there have been other like huge blunders, like someone hanging something, or messing up attack. Actually, there was a game in the U.S. Junior yesterday that Arthur Guo lost. He's a grandmaster to Jason Wang, where apparently, basically what happened was the kid played like rook d8 check, thinking that black has to take with the queen, and then he had some tactic, but black could like take with the king. So he just overlooked like that black can take his rook with his king instead of his queen, and just had to resign on the spot. So yeah, well, these things happen to everyone. It's high pressure environment. But let's get back to our live game. Rook c1, Jesse to play. So yeah, very unfortunate for Kaidanov because he's a very nice guy and he's an amazing player. I doubt that's how Jesse wanted to win. You guys maybe saw the clip. We posted the GIF on Twitter of his relief after the game. If you guys want to check it out. But yeah, it happens. Chess is a rough life. I wouldn't recommend it. What's the GM tourney fund for? That is basically a travel fund for myself to be able to go to GM norm tournaments, which are often expensive, mainly in terms of the travel, like airfare, hotel. But yeah, I've been playing I played some European events a couple weeks ago. And yeah, I got more tournaments coming up, looking to play actually in Portugal next month, which is very exciting for me. So yeah, the fun is there for folks to be able to support. Totally unnecessary, you know, you don't have to, but yeah, that's what it's there for. Oh, if you come to Madrid, just let me know. Luis, I was actually in Madrid just for one night, just recently, but I was in Valencia for a tournament, and then I traveled through Madrid to get back. But yeah, that was fun. I got to watch the Euro, the Euro final, Spain versus England in Madrid with some tapas. So that was great. The food in Spain, really just wonderful. Just absolutely wonderful. So that was great. That was a blast. Some bread, some tomato. Yeah, it was fun. Are we buying into the prize money like poker backers? I don't offer that just because I feel like it's not going to be a good deal. Like the prize money I win is few and far between. And so I don't even want to give people the impression that they're going to make something on their money by possibly paying for by backing me. And anyway, it's like the cost of the tournament are much beyond the entry fee. You know, the entry fee is actually usually very, very minimal. Especially, you know, I might get like free entry as an IM in some events. So usually the entry fee is not bad. It's more just like the flight and hotel and travel, those costs. And then there are many tournaments where even if I win a prize, it doesn't even begin to cover the travel expenses. So I'm really playing for experience and improvement. Can you back me in poker instead? You know, I like poker. I just haven't really had the time to get into it. And it's like hard to play in the US. Like it's like I don't even know if you're allowed to play online in my state. So yeah, I haven't had a chance to look into poker too much, but poker's cool. I've been a big poker fan for many years, and I feel like I could see myself getting into it at some point. There's a question about whether Jesse was roasting me for playing both e4 and d4. I don't quite remember it like that. Jesse was definitely roasting me for like doing too much work on the openings. I think that was more of his general point. I don't think at least I don't remember him caring that much about what first move I was making. It was more just like spending a lot of time like researching openings. Which, yeah, I don't know. It's definitely a controversial point. I think openings do get very important at higher levels. As we've seen in this tournament, you know, Jesse's been preparing like every game, and he's gone prep basically for every single game. And he's been very thoughtful. You know, he's been very thoughtful about the openings he's playing, what kind of game he wants to get against each opponent, long game, sharp game, positional game. You know, there's a reason he played e4 in like his first two games, and then against Larry Christensen, longtime attacking player, you know, he goes d4 London system, right? Which I think was a good choice against Larry C, because I think that's not the kind of position, you know, Larry would feel the most comfortable with. Larry like always playing for the initiative, and I think that kind of worked out in Jesse's game against Larry C. I think he got, you know, a very small plus out of the opening, but managed to outplay the guy with some great strategy. So I feel like, yeah, choosing your openings is pretty important in this day and age. And then, yeah, you want to be well prepared. So, yeah. Oh, how to contribute to the fund. Basically, it should be the link there should be a donate link below the stream. There's also an ! donate command that should bring up donation page as well, and that should get tracked by the counter. But yeah, very much appreciate it. So thanks. Jesse has the most decisive results in the tournament so far. Wow, I didn't know that. Interesting. That makes sense. He's had a lot of decisive games. He's had 2 losses and 3 wins. So most fighting player of the U.S. senior. That's for sure. Yeah, for anyone wondering about the graduate show, that's going to take place tomorrow and at 11 a.m. Eastern time for the under 1,000. And the 1,000 plus will be Friday at 11 Eastern. I'll be doing them as well. Oh, yeah, the link is wrong because we're now Chess Dojo. We're now Chess Dojo. So it should be the same link, streamelements.com/chessdojo/tip. Apologies for that. We got to fix that. Thank you for letting me know. Yeah, we recently we switched our name to Chess Dojo not that long ago. And so yeah, no, we still haven't updated all the links. Yeah, let's update the board. Thank you. We got a move from Jesse, rook e8. He spent some time on this one. Looks like he spent about 12 minutes. Rook e8, definitely very natural move for this kind of position. Rook c8 is also very useful, but this move is typically connected with putting the bishop either on d6 or on f8. f8 is very typical. G6 and then bishop g7 to follow from there. So yeah, spending a bit of time here is Jesse, but I think his play is fine, and he's got an hour and 45 minutes on the clock, so doing just fine with time so far. We'll see how this develops. Moves for white include e3, knight f3. There's always like some DC stuff, and knight c4. E3 definitely very typical move. Maybe knight f3. But yeah, knight c4 is quite common just to reposition the knight to e3, which can be annoying. Of course, taking is bad for black because bishop takes b7. You lose all your light squares. But I'm not sure how much it really does here. When white goes knight e3, black can meet that with knight to b6. And yeah, black is, I think, doing all right. Luis, thank you so much for the donation. I really appreciate it. Someone is asking if there's a specific GM tourney you're eyeing next, just overall fun. It's basically an overall fun. I mean, I played multiple events over the last couple months, like Chicago Open, National Open, 2 tournaments in Europe. My next one, I think, is going to be in Portugal, which I haven't really announced yet, but that's the one that I'm looking to play next month, Maya Chess Festival, which I'm actually very excited about because it looks great. It's going to be strong and 1 round a day, which is very enjoyable for me personally. And yeah, so that should be my next event. Yeah, f4 is another big idea here for white. f4 definitely is a move that white often plays. It's hard to say if it's good here. So f4 is always double-edged because one day black could maybe play f6 and then you lose the e5 square, and then the e file is going to be quite weak. And since black hasn't committed to g6 or to h6, that means black can play f6 without worrying about knight g6 stuff. So if f4 here, the issue is actually maybe here black takes. You would really want to be able to take back with the pawn if you're going to do this. Because bishop takes, then like bishop c5. I think here black is fine. I think we're getting a lot of pressure against white center. So I think if you want to do this, you would probably start with e3 first and then play f4 next. So let's say e3 here, f4. And what do we think about this position? Yeah, honestly, I don't know. Knight e4 and then f6. And hard to judge, as usual. Not sure what we think about this one. But that's kind of an example of what could happen here. So big moment for white. Shaba's been thinking for a couple minutes already. So either he is out of book or probably he's out of book already. But yeah, he's thinking about what to do. I am curious actually if we've left the theory. So we had b6 castles here, knight e5, b3, knight d7, bishop b2. So Jesse played the main move c5. White took on d5, which is also the main move. E takes d5. And rook c1. So rook c1, not the most common move there. And then at this is where theory kind of devolves after rook c1. Okay, black played rook e8. There's been a couple moves here. White played knight takes d7 in a couple games and went e3 in a couple of games. No one super strong. Looks like a couple 2400s had this position. They both played knight takes d7, which doesn't look super strong to me. Knight d7, queen d7, and then they both took on c5. Ah, and they had bishop takes f6. Ah, okay, so that was their point. Interesting, interesting. So there was a couple games like this. Take, take, and then dc. And after bc, bishop takes f6. And either black takes this one and gives up the pawn, which, I don't know, could be a full pawn here. Or they got to go gf, which is definitely not what you would want to do in this position. So knight takes d7. If black doesn't want to allow that, they'd have to go knight takes d7, which I don't see a huge problem with. But okay, it's an interesting idea. Like, I think most people would just intuitively take with the queen without thinking about it too much. But yeah, you always have to watch out for these kinds of ideas. So knight takes d7 I think would be more accurate. And then if takes, you could take with the knight, you could take with the pawn as well. I don't see huge issues here for black. And black is kind of happy that we traded off a minor piece in general, I would say. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, if e3, bishop d6, also playable, white goes f4. And it's not clear if the bishop is better on f8 or d6. Honestly, I don't know. I feel like on f8 it's nice because it gets out of the way and maybe you can put it on g7 sometime. Yeah, Abdul, in this position, after takes, we can claim anything we want. I mean, we can claim that we're the, the president of the moon. The question is, do we actually have compensation of the pawn? And I don't know. It's hard to say. But we are allowed to claim it. I would feel worried that that we're down a pawn and we got to defend this weak Isolani anyway. For sure there's some play here with the dark squared bishop, but yeah, I would think white should be doing well here. So Shaba thinking, he hasn't had the best tournament, 3 out of 7. So yeah. Oh, it's a good point, Patrick. So takes. Yeah, there's queen e7 here. And then, yeah, hard to say what's happening. His d5 is hanging. But of course the rook is hanging. Yeah, kind of sharp. Maybe this is okay for black. I don't quite see such an easy solution for white. Be interesting what the evaluation is of this position. My guess is black is okay, but I would also probably prefer white in this case. I think. I'm going to have to file in an under, I don't really know. It's going to be, I'm not really sure for me. But I feel like I would take white here. Isn't bishop c6 annoying? Maybe slightly annoying. But then problem is, let's say black just moves the rook, and then we still have to deal with the pin. So the question is, who is it annoying for? Because queen d6 is a thing, and yeah. Oh, it's bishop f6 94. Okay, that's a nice detail. Yeah, that was missed by the 2400s. But that looks nice for white. That looks nice. Yeah, I don't see anything here. So, no, I think black has to go knight takes d7. But this is something that black has to figure out, you know? Because it's very easy to just take with the queen here. I think, Patrick, the point was white's just taking on c5 anyway. And winning a pawn. And then on queen e7 you got like rook c2 and everything's defended. Yeah. So if knight d7, hopefully Jesse smells a rat and thinks about it. And then I think taking back with the knight, I think this is what you would have to do. Because this queen d7 takes is pretty convincing. I mean, maybe this position is not that bad for black after gf6, but it looks ugly. I wouldn't want it. e3, queen h5, bishop h3, white's pieces. You know, white's pieces just start dancing on the light squares, and it's not very fun. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's basically made in 5. It's basically made in 5 by force from here. Yeah, I don't know how much Shaba is actually calculating here, because it's like, this is a position where you kind of have to figure out where the pieces are going. So you have lots of different little moves, even like rook e1, and like takes, and knight c4, knight df3. So my guess is he's calculating a lot in short variations. I don't think he's looking at like concrete stuff necessarily, but he might be. He might be. He's probably checking, but then he would certainly see knight takes d7, and yeah, he'd have to judge whether this is good for him or not. Oh, he does take. Okay, long think, 13 minutes, equalizing on the clock, and now we'll see if Jesse. In a blitz game, Jesse just takes with the queen. Because of the whole tempo stuff, because knight takes d7, he's losing a tempo. With queen takes d7, he's developing the queen. But in a classical game, I think he has to pause and spend some time to figure out if there's anything concrete here for black. Or maybe he's already figured it out and he's going to go knight takes d7 reasonably quickly. We'll see. We'll see. In the meantime, oh, knight d7 play. Look at that. Look at that. Jesse's on it. He's on it today, guys. He's on it. Good form. Played fast, too. And I know it wasn't an easy move for him to make. And knight f3 from white. Yeah, very natural move. Just covering the e5 square, improving the knight, keeping the tension. Queen d2, rook f d1 be some of white's next moves from here. And yeah, from black we can expect bishop f6. Knight f8, knight e6. Also typical approach, queen d7, rook c8, rook d8. Yeah, solid position still for black. Oh yeah, we gotta do the prediction. Twitch. All right, guys, 10 minutes. Get your predictions in. Bishop f6, I think, is a normal move. Not sure what the advantage of bishop f8 is. But yeah, white continues. I don't know, queen d2, e3. I don't think black actually wants to trade these bishops off, necessarily. In general, I don't think black actually wants to trade minor pieces, because then the hanging pawns, they would get a little bit weaker. I'm sure it's fine, but to me, bishop f8 kind of makes sense too. And anyways, the knight often wants to go to f6 and e4 as well, so you have to think about that. Whereas the bishop, I think actually it's very, very neatly placed on f8, covering g7 and c5. And next we can have rook c8 or knight f6. Exactly. Sorry, let me put the live board up. So Shaba thinking here. Check the rest of the games, make sure nothing insane's going on. Some action happening for sure. Well, okay, could be spicy day. Could be very spicy day, we'll see. Oh, man, this tournament has been taking up all my time basically, because in the morning I just get ready, I come here, I do the St. Louis show, I come here, I do this stream, I go back, do the interviews, then recaps, and I'm done like 9:30. Very long day, but okay. So chess is all about. Chess is very demanding. Yeah, other bishop for black often goes to a6. Though the drawback here is that you do weaken the d-pawn, so you have to always watch out for like dc5 and knight e5. So in general, white will go like rook e1 and e3, or queen d2, and then rook fd1, and then e3. And yeah, here bishop a6, knight e5. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, what the answer would be, but yeah, even like rook e1, e3, I think is okay. Even a move like bishop a6, rook c2 is often acceptable for white. Like, let's say this move h4, I don't know, bishop a6, rook c2, even this. And then the queen gets a square on a1, other rook comes to c1, and this can be kind of harmonious. And this one coming here. Okay, here e2 is hanging, but you guys get the idea. If you want to play e3, why not rook e1 first? Yeah, I'm not sure it makes up a big difference. I don't know, e3, like, black gets this tempo. With a rook e1, you don't get the tempo, but if you're going to play e3 anyway, it doesn't matter. I don't know, somehow I don't like giving the tempo. You know, here, okay, I have a choice. I don't have to play e3 if I could play queen d2, you know. Maybe this is a tiny, tiny bit more flexible. I'm not really sure. But, yeah, I think the moves are kind of interchangeable. I feel like I would expect queen d2 here. To me, this looks like the most natural move. Yeah, question about like bishop a6 and c4. I don't know. It's hard to judge. In general, I think c4 is very risky. So I think black has to be careful about that one. But it is a normal plan in these positions, like rook c8, a6. But I feel like it's usually, yeah, it's connected with a6, b5, c4, like the queenside pawn storm. With bishop and then c4, I kind of less believe in it. Like, let's say here, rook e1, c4, take. And yeah, just as an example, this structure I don't like because black gets this weak d pawn, and then dc I think is really going to be like a possible problem here after knight e5. I don't know, there's some tactics, knight e5, bishop a8. But yeah, in general, I would be very concerned about giving up the stream, the center here. Anna Kuchava, thanks for the raid. Hello. Welcome, everyone. We're watching Jesse play U.S. Senior Championships. It's round 8. He's actually having a pretty good tournament. He's 4 out of 7 right now. And he is facing Grandmaster Alexander Shabalov. So, yeah, we're rooting for him. He's playing live here in St. Louis, OTB. We got 1 round a day. Final round tomorrow. And doing pretty well. +1 so far. Got chances for 2nd place if he has a good finish. Today, though, he's going to need at least a draw. And then hopefully more by tomorrow. Yeah, if Akapian loses and draws between today and tomorrow, Jesse could tie for first with 2 wins. It's not going to happen, guys. I'm sorry. It's not going to happen. It's just he's too solid. The dude is too solid. And today he has white against Douglas root. I mean, he would have to have a complete collapse to not win the event. I wouldn't get our hopes up. I think we should try to fight for second place rather than think about our chances for first. I think actually he's black against Douglas root, but it looks like he's fine for so far. Black against root means he's gonna have white in the final round. So if he draws today's game, it's basically over. I mean, never say never, but like it's not gonna happen. And second place is great. Yeah, I think at this point we should just fight for second. And if we somehow fight for, I mean, that would just be like a miracle, like miracle level of luck. So yeah, I think we should just keep our sights set on second place. I think that would be a good goal. Yeah, against Shaba, I think exactly. You want to play solid. Let him come to you. He's going to generate the chaos in the position. I think Jesse knows this. He's played him many, many times, I'm sure. And yeah, you just want to kind of hold your cool and don't do anything crazy. I mean, it's not like a guarantee that Vladimir's not going to lose. It's just he's played super solid so far. He's a fantastic grandmaster. I mean, 2600 level. He used to be over 2700. He can lose games. He's lost games the previous 2 years. But in this tournament, he's just shown incredible form. And I think like the rest of the participants have just accepted that like they're not going to beat him. You know, so, I mean, look at his last 2 games against Melik and against Julio Becerra. Becerra basically with white, you know, traded queens. Petrov got nothing. They made a draw. Like it wasn't a quick draw, but white didn't have any chances in that one. Melik, he went for a surprise, but still shut it down. Didn't really push for the win. Was happy with the draw as well. So I just feel like the players in the event, like they're not. They've understood that Vladimir is in great form. They're not going to beat him, and so yeah, so we'll see. I forget who Vladimir is playing in the last round. Let me think. Is he playing Larry? No, he beat Larry. Let's see. He's already played. He beat Novikov in the first round. All right, let's just figure this out. It'll be a good memory test. He beat Novikov. Did he beat? Oh yeah, he drew Becerra. He beat Christensen. He drew Kaidanov in round 4. He beat Jesse in round 5. In round 2, I think that's when he beat Larry. I think he also beat. Didn't he beat Joel? Or no, he plays Joel in the last round. That's right, with white. He plays Joel. Joel's good, but Joel's solid. And yeah, final round. So I would expect 2 draws from here. Or Kopian honestly might win today. He might beat Doug today. Like he's been playing well. Root has been struggling, I think, last couple of rounds. So he might just win today and it's over. I would say it's more likely that he like clinches it today than someone having like a chance tomorrow. Yeah, but we'll see. We'll see. Okay, knight h4 from Shaba. Knight h4 is very typical. Very, very typical. Opening up the bishop on g2. Now he's threatening d takes c5. So if g6, for example, I think we would see dc. And then black would have to take with the knight to defend the d-pawn. But then black is an isolated queen pawn here. And after queen d4, position looks horrible. I mean, here it's especially bad because of g6. But even without g6, white would play knight f3, knight back to d4 and stand well. So I don't think we'll see g6. Knight f6 is normal. I don't see anything wrong with knight f6. If dc... Well, actually, I do. Takes. Bishop f6, queen f6. Bishop takes d5. This line is not super clear. Black can take once, take on e2. Black can go rook a d8. No, you can't take on e2 because a8 rook will be hanging. So rook a d8, e4. Rook takes e4. And I think white loses. So this is losing for white, right? Did I miss something, guys? I think white's losing in this line. Okay, so that means knight f6 looks playable. Because if takes, bishop f6, queen f6, black is fine. And so if you can't take on d5, then you're not going to take on f6. So maybe something like knight f5, knight e3. But I think black is okay here. Queen d7, knight e3, maybe d4. Okay, here we have to watch out for this guy. So there's still some pressure here. Knight f5. Think we have a move? Yeah, knight f6. Bishop f6 I wasn't worried about after queen d7 just because black takes on f5. And we keep our structure, and I think we're okay. Everything's defended. So knight f6. Now, yeah, knight f5 looks like the move. Or dc first and then knight f5. Knight h6, I think king h8. I don't see the danger there. Oh, but then white can take on f6. Oh, yeah, okay. That's a good point. So take here. Here, there's check. And then if king h8, white takes. And then we got to deal with this ugliness again. Oh, but this one is hanging. So queen d2. Looks like white can get away with it. Queen f4 next. I don't see how we take advantage of this guy. So knight f5. Queen d7. Abdul, we mentioned this. Knight f5, queen d7, bishop f6, queen takes f5. Right? We mentioned this one. Unless there's something here you guys aren't telling me. Okay, good. So take, knight f5. But queen d7, knight h6 is a problem. So I don't like queen d7 here, but feels like we would have other moves. Even g6, knight e3. g6, knight e3. g6, knight e3. Maybe knight e4. Knight e4 looks okay. Yeah. Yeah, I think the black is okay here. I don't see anything amazing for white. Okay. Okay. Okie dokie. Okie dokie, Annie Oakley. Okay, knight f6, waiting on a move from Shaba. Jesse, hard at work. It's 1 out a day thing, guys. It's really nice. I cannot stress it enough how nice it is to just show up to your game. You have like one important game that day. Prepare all day for it. You go play. Afterwards, you relax. You don't have like a second classical game. You got to play another game now. Like, Just like one game done. Very enjoyable. So yeah, I was expecting knight f5 here. Or DC first and then knight f5, which looks annoying. But there we were thinking knight e4 and black is okay. Say knight e3. Queen d7, and yeah, no issues. Rook d8 next, and we're fine. So we'll see. Okay, folks, it's getting to be that time. I probably gotta take a break. Lots of stuff to do, but I will leave the game up so you guys can watch. I know yesterday you guys had a lot of fun following the game and analyzing with each other, so I hope that continues today. Yeah, I had to take a break, take care of some stuff here before the interviews start happening. So yeah, hopefully I will see you all later. And if not, then good luck to Jesse. But yeah, catch you guys next time. Well, folks, that was it. GG. Jesse wins his third game in a row. And I believe takes clear second going into the last round. 2024 US Senior. So yeah, let's go. Welcome to the dojo. Yeah, very nice game, very interesting. Glad you guys got to see it. Apologies for the lag and the internet. I understand it's not good quality, but yeah, sometimes internet speed is like that. So yeah, nice stuff for Jesse. He moves to 5 out of 8, so +2 going to the last round. Unfortunately, for him, Kapyan won his game today, so he clinches first place. But, well, second place very much up for grabs. Jesse's a half point ahead. He'll be playing Julio Becerra tomorrow with white. So he needs to not lose that game, and he should guarantee himself at least a tie for second.